Hello everyone, Angry Patriot here with this very special Angry Patriot Radio video report for September the 20th, 2016. Now, how many of you have been watching the news over the past week? How many of you have seen the report about the attacks in New York, New Jersey, and Wisconsin? And how many of you have heard mainstream media and our president get on media sources and tell us that we need not to jump to conclusions because this attack may not be an act of terrorism? Well, rather than get on here and tell you my opinion firsthand, rather than do that, I'm going to let you watch a video first. And you tell me, when I come back, your thoughts in regards to this. Because I'm damn sure going to give you my take on what's going on. But rather than get on here and talk about my opinion, watch the video first, and then I'll be back to continue today's report.
This is Dabu7. The latest reports here in terms of all these explosions that have gone down. Police were in search of an Afghan-born naturalized citizen by the last name of Rahami, and apparently they have him. This is after a shootout, and after they're saying one officer was hit by a car, another by gunfire. This is when officers were responding to calls that were coming in of an individual shooting at cars in Linden, New Jersey. Now, I'm not so sure why an individual that is wanted would just go start shooting at cars, but this thing has been very sketchy through and through. At this point, they're saying that this man is alive. They're saying that all three incidents, you guys may have missed it, but last night at a train station, there was a bomb discovered as well. And then they're tying that in with what happened at Seaside Park and also the massive explosion that went down in NYC, and they're saying that he was on the video surveillance at both places. They were tracking him. They had his license plate out there, his car, the make, the model, all that. But apparently, out of nowhere, he gives himself away by just starting to shoot at cars that are passing by. Apparently, no one's been injured in that, except for the police that showed up and had this altercation with him. Now, the mayor of Elizabeth comes out and states pretty much the same updates that I just gave you guys. And here he is. There he is getting loaded into an ambulance. This is the man, Ahmad Khan Rahami, alive but injured, being loaded into an ambulance in Linden. So they have him. And at the moment, he's alive and breathing. Here is another pic. You can see he's down on the ground, surrounded. Looks like he's cuffed, his hands behind his back. He's flipped over. I don't see a lot of blood coming off the front side. I'm not sure where he shot. Maybe his arm over here, it looked like in the other pic. Maybe. Right here in the arm. Maybe a graze wound. It doesn't look to be life-threatening by any means. So if this man just all of a sudden is dead from his injuries, it's going to raise some more questions. My biggest thing with this, guys, and I've been warning about this for a long time, and I want everyone to think about this clearly. We know that there's been a threat out here, ongoing. We know who the boogeyman is, who created them, who funded them. But what they're doing is they're shifting this whole thing to make it look like it's all domestic terrorism. And what that means is more and more of these events, they're going to say that these individuals were not sent over here by ISIS, ever had any training from ISIS, but actually that they were just here and they were inspired by them. And they decided to pull off these plots and schemes and everything. And it's homegrown lone wolf terrorism. You see? And they're going to start to make the everyday American look like this. Plus, this is how they induce fear. You know, the next 9/11 doesn't have to be towers come crashing down, like I said before. It could be a ramped up series of events like this that happen. And, man, so many times these events have been created by the alphabet gangs and foiled, and they've admitted it. Put out a big video, Judge Napolitano, right there on Fox News to all the sheep, letting them hear that, yes, the FBI themselves said that they had created over 20-some different events just to foil them and take credit for them. So it happens. You see? It's a possibility. You need to keep that on the table. So this man now in custody, and I'm warning you, you're going to see more. I don't care if they got him in custody or not. You're going to see more and more of this because that's the route they're going. It's obvious to me and anyone that's paying attention, anyone that's been watching this for some time, you know what's going on here. The focus is on targeting we Americans, labeling you domestic terrorists, and coming after your freedoms all at the same time. And what's sad is many of these officers out here, many of these lower level guys, even in some of these different alphabet gangs, they don't even see the bigger picture. They're not told, because just like military, it's on a need to know basis. We've torn this whole thing apart, and I tell you what, one of the biggest red flags, in case you guys missed it, was the last video that I put out that shows that this exact bombing location in Chelsea, in NYC, on West 23rd, between 6th and 7th Avenue, the exact coordinates to a T, were shown in Tom Clancy's newest video game, The Division. The Division. And it starts off with them cleaning up a bomb, or the mess after a bomb went off. Guess where? In Chelsea, New York, on 23rd, right between 6th and 7th. There's no way this is just mere coincidence. And I know some just waking up want to say, well, maybe he watched the video game and attacked it. No. This guy wasn't playing that damn video game. I'm telling you that now. And you better realize that now. This is part of a bigger picture where these people are pawns and tools used to pull off events by the dark hand behind the scenes. The same dark hand that's been there behind all of these events, that was there for the towers falling in 9/11. The same dark hand behind it all that runs the shadow government that they tell you not about, that runs all of your mainstream media. And you're just now starting to see with George Soros and his corruption and his buddy Rupert Murdoch that runs major branches of the mainstream media, how much control and influence these individuals have, not only there, but through Hollywood, through the music industry, through everything that you know. They've bought out all your congressmen and senators throughout your government, and that's exactly how it is run. This is the world stage. This is just another theater of war. And they will keep on with this, I'm warning you. Regardless of if they've got this man or not. Next thing could be, oh no, now they've got this information that there's a huge pocket or a huge cell in wherever, in downtown Dallas or who knows at this point where they're going to run it. But I guarantee you, it's all going to be geared toward, they're here, domestic terror, on the lookout for lone wolf attacks. And you know that this is playing into their game here when the mayor of New York City came out and said, oh, this is not a terrorist event. We're not connecting this to international terrorism. Okay, that threw up some red flags right there, because everybody knows immediately when someone bombs something, it's an act of terrorism. He beat it around the bush on it, and then finally come out and says, well, okay, yeah, let's just make this clear. It is an act of terrorism. Okay, so what you're saying is it is an act of terrorism, but it's not an international act of terrorism, which only leaves one thing, that it is domestic terrorism. And he refused to use those words at that moment in time, though they've used it before, and you're about to see them using it a whole lot more. But not from the official. You'll see it pumped through the mainstream media. And where this is going to go from here, I'm not sure, but I can tell you this much. It's not over. They didn't just do all this for nothing, to get nothing out of it. I fully expect them to continue down this path on causing events like this. And it's really on the people out here to stay on top of things, to try to disrupt what's going to happen. If we can get any kind of bead on anything going down, any information whatsoever, to where maybe we can stop one of these events from going down, we need to do everything we can to get that information out there. But I will continue to update with any information that I come across pertaining to this. I'll leave links in the description box, as always. And also make sure to check out our recent sponsor here to try to get us to events when we can here to get coverage. Essential Drugstore chose these guys specifically because it offers an avenue here for people to stock up legitimately from a licensed pharmacist on some of the things that people are going to need in a crisis situation. So it's there if you guys need it. Like I said, I'll update with more as I come across it. It's been Dabu7.
Welcome back, folks. Well, I hope that you were able to really watch that video. And if you're like me, it clearly points a finger at the truthful cause of every possible attack upon this nation since Barack Hussein Obama took office. That's right, folks. As you've seen in that video, yet another Muslim Islamic terrorist took upon himself to attack the United States of America. But yet the mainstream media is so quick to report that we not jump to conclusions. Our president, Barack Hussein Obama, is so quick to say, we are not sure who may be behind this latest terrorist act upon our country. Look, Mr. President, are you blind? Or do you think we're blind? Because yet another Islamic Muslim terrorist has attacked American soil, Americans. But yet you and your mouthpiece, the mainstream media, want us to not point the finger at radical Islamic terrorism. To be honest with you, unless I'm blind, I've not seen any Muslim groups like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and other Iranian nations and states standing up and condemning these attacks. I've not seen any mosque leaders, whether in the United States or foreign, standing up and condemning these attacks. So what does that clearly point to me? That clearly shows me one thing, that either I'm blind, deaf, and dumb, as well as every other true American patriot and citizen, or Islam is truly not a religion of peace, tolerance, and love, as we've been fed the bullshit line that it is. I've said it over and over and over again, as has many other true patriots, that Islam is not a religion of peace, tolerance, and love. In fact, it's not a religion at all. It's a caliphate out to destroy the United States and our way of life. I have another video I wanted to show you folks, and this is Hillary Rodham Clinton's press conference after the latest attacks. And as you watch this video, I want you to look behind Hillary Rodham Clinton and tell me what you see. And then I'll be back to conclude today's report. Here's the video.
There, Hillary Clinton now talking. Let's listen.
Authorities in New York, we know they're doing everything they possibly can to keep us safe in this dangerous situation. I've also spoken to the governor of Minnesota. Like all Americans, my thoughts are with those who were wounded, their families, and our brave first responders. This threat is real, but so is our resolve. Americans will not cower, we will prevail. We will defend our country, and we will defeat the evil, twisted ideology of the terrorists. I'm the only candidate in this race who has been part of the hard decisions to take terrorists off the battlefield. And I've laid out a comprehensive plan to meet the evolving nature of this threat and take the fight to ISIS everywhere they threaten us, including online. I'm grateful to have support and advice from a wide range of bipartisan national security leaders who've worked with both Democratic and Republican presidents. When we met together earlier this month in New York, one of the points they emphasized was the need to support state and local law enforcement who act as our first line of defense, making sure they have the resources, the training, and intelligence they need to effectively prevent and respond to terror attacks. And this weekend's events underscored how important that is. We should also launch an intelligence surge to help identify and thwart attacks before they can be carried out. We need to work more closely with Silicon Valley and other partners to counter terrorist propaganda and recruitment efforts online. And it is crucial that we continue to build up trust between law enforcement and Muslim American communities. In the Middle East, we have to smash ISIS's strongholds with an accelerated coalition air campaign, more support for Arab and Kurdish forces on the ground, and intense diplomatic efforts in Syria, Iraq, and across the region. Working closely with our allies and partners to keep us safe must be the top priority for our next Commander-in-Chief. Later today, I'll discuss the threat from terrorism with President Sisi of Egypt and other world leaders. Most of all, I want to say this to my fellow Americans. Let us be vigilant, but not afraid. We have faced threats before. If you see something or you hear something, report it immediately to local law enforcement authorities. I know we will meet this new danger with the same courage and vigilance. We choose resolve, not fear. We will not turn on each other or undermine our values. We'll stand together because we are stronger together in the face of this threat and every other challenge. Be glad to take some questions.
The person of interest in this case is an Afghan immigrant, now a U.S. citizen. What do you say to voters who may see this as a reason to consider supporting Trump's approach to terror and immigration?
Well, it is true that a suspect of interest has been identified, and we need to do everything we can to support law enforcement as they track him down to determine what role, if any, he played in these events. But let us remember, there are millions and millions of naturalized citizens in America from all over the world. There are millions of law-abiding, peaceful Muslim Americans. This is the kind of challenge that law enforcement can be and is prepared to address, namely going after anyone who would threaten the United States. So I am absolutely in favor of and have long been an advocate for tough vetting, for making sure that we don't let people into this country, and not just people who come here to settle, but we need a better visa system. Let's remember what happened on 9/11. These were not refugees who got into airplanes and attacked our city and our country. So let's not get diverted and distracted by the kind of campaign rhetoric we hear coming from the other side. This is a serious challenge. We are well equipped to meet it, and we can do so in keeping with smart law enforcement, good intelligence, and in concert with our values.
Secretary Clinton, the White House has labeled these lone wolf attacks a top concern, and given these weekend's events, what more specifically should be done, and what would you do specifically beyond what President Obama has done? Is the current plan enough?
Monica, I think that the lone wolf problem is one that we have to invest more time and more resources into combating. When I met with the distinguished group of national security experts, as I said, both Democratic and Republican administration experiences, they made a very strong point that the recruitment and radicalization that goes on online has to be much more vigorously intercepted and prevented. I have been saying this for quite some time, and I believe it's an important part of our strategy. The other point they made is that the recruiters for ISIS and these other terrorist groups look for people who online demonstrate the mental profile, the level of paranoia, the level of delusion, the level of disappointment that then is exploited by quite able terrorist recruiters. So we've got to do a much more intensive effort, and that's why I mentioned Silicon Valley in my remarks, not only to take down terrorist propaganda, but to do everything we can to intercept and prevent radicalization and recruitment. And I think we are at the beginning of that, but there's much more we need to do, and the government cannot do this without the close participation of tech companies and experts online who can give us the tools and lead us to those who are attempting to promote attacks like we've seen.
Hi.
Hey, Jennifer.
Are you concerned that this weekend's attacks or potential incidents in the coming weeks might be an attempt by ISIS or ISIS sympathizers or really any other group, maybe the Russians, to influence the presidential race in some way and presumably try to drive votes to Donald Trump, who is, as you've said before, widely seen as perhaps being somebody who they would be more willing to or see as an easier person to be against?
Well, Jennifer, I don't want to speculate, but here's what we know. And I think it's important for voters to hear this and weigh it in making their choice in November. We know that a lot of the rhetoric we've heard from Donald Trump has been seized on by terrorists, in particular ISIS, because they are looking to make this into a war against Islam. Rather than a war against jihadists, violent terrorists, people who number in the maybe tens of thousands, not the tens of millions, they want to use that to recruit more fighters to their cause by turning it into a religious conflict. That's why I've been very clear. We're going after the bad guys, and we're going to get them. But we're not going to go after an entire religion and give ISIS exactly what it's wanting in order for them to enhance their positions. Secondly, we know that Donald Trump's comments have been used online for recruitment of terrorists. We've heard that from former CIA Director Michael Hayden, who made it a very clear point when he said Donald Trump is being used as a recruiting sergeant for the terrorists. We also know from the former head of our counterterrorism center, Matt Olson, that the kinds of rhetoric and language that Mr. Trump has used is giving aid and comfort to our adversaries. Now, look, as I said in my remarks, I'm the only candidate in this race who's been part of the hard decisions to take terrorists off the battlefield. What does that mean? I was part of the national security team that worked with President Obama to develop strategies to fight the terrorists. Sometimes that involved direct kinetic action. Sometimes that involved working with allies and partners. Sometimes that involved capture. I won't get into classified information, but I have sat at that table in the Situation Room. I've analyzed the threats. I've contributed to actions that have neutralized our enemies. I know how to do this, and I understand how we don't want this to get even bigger than it already is. So we're going to stay focused on what will work and how we deploy a strategy that will protect America, work with our allies and partners to take ISIS down, and have a strong counter-terrorism effort online in order to try to defeat the ideology that stands behind these terrorist attacks.
Secretary Clinton, as you know, Donald Trump has had a lot to say about your record on this issue over the weekend. Here's one example. Under the leadership of Obama and Clinton, Americans have experienced more attacks at home than victories abroad. Time to change the playbook. What's your reaction to that characterization?
Well, it's like so much else he says. It's not grounded in fact. It's meant to make some kind of demagogic point. And the facts are pretty clear that we still have challenges. That's what I have been talking about throughout this campaign. I am prepared to, ready to actually take on those challenges, not engage in a lot of, irresponsible, reckless rhetoric, but to do the hard work, as I've done before, to put into place the strategies for local and state law enforcement, for an intelligence surge, for the kind of preventive actions that we need to take here at home, and to intensify our efforts to defeat ISIS. You don't hear a plan from him. He keeps saying he has a secret plan. Well, the secret is he has no plan. So let's focus on what we really can do, and what I've laid out is a path forward that will keep us safer, protect our country, and go after the terrorists to finally destroy them. So, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
All right, Hillary Clinton wrapping up her press conference at the airport, and then she's going to fly away for a campaign event later today. With me now, David Chalian, CNN political director.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, there you have Hillary Rodham Clinton and her press conference after the latest attacks in New York, New Jersey, and Wisconsin. Now, again, here we have someone that is running for public office feeding us a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of lying, a bunch of false ideals. But look behind her, and what did you see? Well, I saw an aircraft. Now, my question is, who supplied this aircraft to Hillary Rodham Clinton? Did she buy it out of her own money? And then, if so, where did the money come from? Is it from the Clinton Foundation or one of her other false front charities, businesses? Or could the money have came from her handler, George Soros? It makes me wonder. Yes, Donald J. Trump has a jet, but we know where that money came from. That's the money from his company, and it's clearly labeled Trump. But this jet is pretty much what Hillary is using to travel across this country, campaigning for support, lying to the American people. But it's nothing new in regards to Hillary Rodham Clinton. It's nothing new to the Obama administration and our so-called president, Barack Hussein Obama. Folks, we're 50 days out from the November elections. We're getting closer and closer to that very vital, important vote. And if you hadn't made your mind up yet, or even if you have, I urge you to take a long, hard look at Hillary Rodham Clinton. And I'm urging you to see her for what she really is, a lying, treasonous, lawless, evil piece of shit. Everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie. Every time she opens her mouth, it's a lie. Do you want someone as president who has either directly or indirectly been a part of over 48 people dying? Do you trust her as the President of the United States? Do you believe for a minute that she is medically and mentally competent? I don't. Look, I'm going to lay it all out on the line for you right here, right now. Donald J. Trump is not a saint. Never has been, never will be. But look who we've had in office for the last almost 8 years. A lying, treasonous, lawless, terroristic, thug who has taken America down the path toward total and utter destruction, who has slapped the face of every American veteran, past, present, and future, who has degraded our brave men and women in uniform and first responders as well. This president is not good for America. Never has been. And if he remains in office past November, never will be. Well, folks, I've said my piece. I hope that I've shed some light on what is truly going on in America today. This current administration under President Barack Hussein Obama is not good for America. And now he has the audacity to get up there and say, if you don't elect Hillary Rodham Clinton as the next president of the United States, you are insulting his legacy. Well, let me tell you President Barack Hussein Obama's legacy. Your legacy, Mr. President, is a legacy of treason, terrorism, lawlessness, and bigotry. You have done more to destroy civil rights in this country than all the hate groups, and that includes the Ku Klux Klan, the Aryan Brotherhood, the Black Panthers, and every other damn hate group in this country, black, white, and any other race combined. You have took America into a complete 180 turn. And you've caused so much racial division and hatred in this country. And you should be ashamed of yourself. But let me tell you something, Mr. President. Even the damage that you've caused, it's being repaired. Yes, right, Mr. President. True, God-fearing Christian Americans of every race, white, black, brown, yellow, or red, and every color in between, are not going to allow you to destroy this country's legacy. We're going to set America back on a foundation that we, the people, can be proud of. And I'm asking each and every American out there that might be watching this video today to get out there in November and vote for Donald J. Trump. Vote to make America great again. Folks, Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching this report. And hey, make this video go viral. Pass it along to your friends and tell them that the Angry Patriot stands for freedom, justice, liberty, and honor. And I'm asking you, as a true American patriot, to vote Donald J. Trump for president in November. God bless you. God bless our troops. May God bless our fellow veteran, patriot, Christian, and citizen brothers and sisters. But most importantly, may God bless America. Thank you for watching today's Angry Patriot Radio video report. Angry Patriot out.